Welcome people, this is Rauta and Indie 5. Indie 5 means 5 different releases in one review video. Let's get through these 5 ones rather quick pace so I don't waste all of your time. Now 4 of these releases are CDs as you can see here, and then we have one vinyl edition here. And the reason why I wanted to compile all these together is that most of these have been waiting for quite some time, and they're either very small label ones or just kind of self-financed ones. So let's get these through in alphabetical order. First in line we have a rather old band. Well, old in the terms of this has been waiting in the pile for quite some time, but also in terms of being a band from earlier 2000s. Even though this has once again even called call it a day, call it quits. This one is Eternal Suffering from Italy, and this is Beyond the Threshold of Twilight. Now, Eternal Suffering, well, it told me that this would be death metal. But then again, seeing the cover, reading the title of the MCD, yes, this is MCD, not an album exactly, well, it was definitely leaning to black metal, and that's the case here. This one is something that could be labeled as a symphonic black metal. And this release, I think, was originally released in 2017 as the first one officially released by the band. And can't say this is too good. Unfortunately, this is one of those MCDs that could have been very well a demo. I mean, everything from the kind of a cliche type of keyboard introduction to the MCD is kind of like, okay, guys, you have clearly doing your own version of early Dimmu Borgir and Emperor, being this very keyboard-driven, very melodic black metal, and very much going to 1990s, only just 20 years later. And everything here is like, okay, nothing is outright bad, but it's kind of feels almost like cringe, almost like you guys must have been something like teenagers when you're writing the material. It's not outright bad, but it's like, okay, check. These are like school book examples how to do symphonic black metal without any kind of originality. You have heard these melodies a million times before. You kind of would guess what is now happening next with the keyboard elements. Like I said, it's not outright bad, but it's kind of not very good. The point here is, these are the kind of stuff that is done by so many bands in so much better ways. And on top of that, the production is somewhat weak and kind of like lame. I mean, it definitely would benefit of having more powerful, more kind of a clean, yet not the sterile kind of a production that would take it to the next level. Pretty much what Dimmu Borgir has been doing. Then again, they have bigger label to back that up, but they also have way better songs. So unless you are a big fan of symphonic black metal, I don't really recommend it that to you. It's very, very mediocre release, not bad, but still. Then we have a band coming from Finland. This is Northern Savonian black metal, and in case you have heard that one before, it's maybe because Circle of Dawn coming from Finland. That is the NSBM from Savo part of Finland. Also, this name of this MCD kind of resonates in that direction. It is Kulttuurihauta. That kind of reminds me of a German word which I just can't get in my head, but something like Kulturkampf, not Kampf, but Grab or something like that. Well, a grave of culture basically. And you can figure out these kind of logos, well, related to certain kind of bands. But this is not labeled as NSBM, not by lyrics, not by the labels I saw, so maybe it's just too much people putting their imagination go wild. Anyway, Hiidenlintu means something like bird of, goblin's bird or something. Not exactly goblin, but you know, like troll, goblin, pixie, whatever. A fantasy creature anyway. Some would even go as far as to say orc's bird. But orc is maybe not the right one to describe the name here. Anyway, this is melodic black metal in a kind of a homemade rehearsal room type of ways. Very much a demo level presence. I mean, this is already done in 2020, but I guess the CD version came out a little bit late. The stuff here ain't that bad, but it's not too original. It's very much like Goat Moon on a demo level. So a lot of potential here. These melodics are something that could be, you know, quite potential to be really, really catchy and nice. but because of this production is kind of weak and powerless, it makes you feel like it's not doing its job properly. Drums are quite like not exactly what you expect from a metal album. And while the melodies are good, the guitars are kind of like wailing, and they could be like, bam, let's do it. Instead of like, let's do it. If you get my drift. Now the raspier vocals, the kind of a typical black metal shriekiness, that's pretty good. Then again, those second level growly vocals are much like this guy who wants to be a death metal growler are doing some growlier parts. I mean, this probably would be better even without those troll ones. They're not horrible, but they're very much like, you know, cheap-ass version of growly vocals. But when it comes to actual music, it's pretty decent, but it's not really great. For people who like Goatmoon and the like, that kind of a pagan, national, romantic black metal, and you get the idea. That's pretty much how it is. Not bad, but not really good either, but still quite decent. Then we have a 2020 release. This is Mooncitadel, which used to operate under a different moniker for a few years, but didn't back then make a full album. Now, this is their first album called Night's Scarlet Symphonies. This is a Werewolf Records release. I actually got it via trade, so decided to include it here as, well, Indie 5. This is not like a typical review copy to arrive my way. I actually traded one of my LPs for this one, but decided to figure out I could do a friend a favor who is taking part of the band here. This is two-man band. And one can even say or make the claim that this is some kind of a side project between these two guys. Stormhide is very much known for his activity in his band called Stormhide, and he also has previous projects which are not so much black metal related. He's also part of Goatmoon Live and all that stuff. And then we have this drummer which is more mystical creature. There is not official information, whatever who he is. He might be a known character, but at least so far the sources haven't revealed it to me, and to be honest, I don't care so much that I would go digging and asking too much, and just basically figuring out, okay, he might be something that I know or might be not. Anyway, this is a LP with two sides of different names, and the style here is a kind of a Moonblood type of keyboard-driven melodic black metal. Not so hostile as people might be expecting, but more about worshipping that 1990s keyboard symphonic black metal. Not exactly as symphonic that what this Eternal Suffering is doing, but more about this kind of epic pagan black metal feeling. Definitely towards Moonblood, but there's also other bands. One could even say a little bit what Graveland has been doing since they kind of grew out of this very raw end of pagan black metal, but definitely leaning to that one. So not exactly aggressive, not super sinister, not super dark, but more on the kind of easier side of black metal. One could even make the statement that with better production this would be something like easy listening black metal, but it's not like it sounds Dimmerborg. It's very, very lo-fi raw production, which might be even too much for some people. To be honest, I don't know why these guys decided to make this way, because in my opinion this would have been taken benefit of the more powerful, more clean, that kind of a bigger production in general. Now everything sounds like let's make a lo-fi record so that cult people will value the cult. I don't for one second believe there's nothing about equipment. Well, that could be theory number one, but at least when it comes to the skill set of these guys, I don't believe for one second that it's something that they couldn't just do better. In my opinion, this could have been and should have been more powerful. Now everything feels like it's tuned down in the terms of production to sound more cult, more homemade, more demo-like. And some people were like, yeah, fucking great, it sounds so much like tapes from 1992 or so. Well, if you like it, good for you. But if you like better support for epic song structures, be it guitar melodies or synths or whatever, well, this could have been done it. When it comes to drums and vocals, pretty much the basic standard stuff, both in good and bad. Pretty decent album, but in my opinion, with these years and knowing Stormhide's skills, I was definitely expecting a little bit better album. Definitely quite nice, but still too far away from being exactly like, wow. Well, go check it out. Then we have Nether, which is about the same level in quality, but very, very different kind of black metal. This comes from, if I don't remember incorrectly, Belgium, I think, and this one is very, very different breed because this one is aggressive as hell. It's kind of dark and it's also melodic, and this is something for fans of Dark Funeral and Martyr. Now, the boring side of this album is it's basically a one-trick pony. I mean, throughout these songs, you pretty much hear the same patterns gone all over again. It's fast tempo, kicking your teeth in and all that stuff. I mean, this could be seeming like, okay, it's one of those atmospheric or post-black metal album. But to be honest, this is very different breed. This could have been, those inverted crosses or burning churches, and everybody would be like, yeah, I know what you mean, man. So this looks more sophisticated and so much more atmospheric, but it's indeed very violent, very dark, very melodic, very simple album. It's one of like those breakfast albums. You want to just fill your guts with something that's violent and dark and, all that Mardukian dark funeralish things. And then you're like, okay, now I can go back to something else. So in case you're looking for that, this is the one. I can imagine this band being quite nice as a live. I don't know, but there's some kind of energy which is very much resonating when you need that. The last but not least, and also the latest of this pile, is a band called Surmaus, a new black metal band from Finland with the Stiletto of Terror MCD. Technically speaking, this could be a demo as well, because as you can pretty much see, there are no label logos, so this is self-financed CD. Back in the days, these kind of releases were demos indeed, but for a reason or another, the person behind the band decided to go self-financed MCD with 4 tracks. Pretty much the same thing applies here, what would apply to the other Finnish band here previously mentioned, Hiidenlintu, because this is much like a melodic or kind of like pagan kind of a black metal. Don't let this cover once again fool you. This is not raw, evil sounding, violent black metal, but more about being melodic and kind of even soothing in so many ways. But once again, the same things which apply to that demo are very much present here. This is kind of like lo-fi production in so many ways. Not exactly your crappy rehearsal room recordings back in the mid-90s when you just would go tape recording, tape from, being the whole set of drums and guitars and vocals, everything right there, and you would just tape it on a, record it on a tape without no mixing, no mastering whatsoever, no multiple sources, like multitude of microphones, but just tape recording it basically. And he would say, okay, this is a rehearsal tape. You wouldn't even go bother to enter a studio. This is not that bad quality. I mean, you probably remember like, how are these melodies going? I can't really tell. This is not that bad, but it compared to quality what people are nowadays able to do with their smartphones, tablets, laptops, with basic mics and basic recording software, this sounds kind of weak. Maybe it's intentional, once again, like 4-track recorder, 8-track recorder, whatever. Or maybe it's just like, once again, tuning it a little bit down to have this cult value. I don't know, I don't want to guess too much. But in my opinion, it kind of, once again, lacks the powerless. Don't get me wrong, I love raw black metal. I love when it's really raw and, unpolished. Think about like those Dark Throne, Unholy Trinity era, or Ilion, or early Graveland. But they have power when there is also this rawness. So it's not like having these guitars sound weak and pathetic. It's just raw. Or when you go to this Marduk, Dark Funeral, whatever course, and you have more clean and sharp guitars, but they're also filled with power. This isn't, and this is one of the reasons why it sounds a little bit sloppy. Once again, the songwriting ain't bad, but it's much like you have the potential, but you don't have the skill set or equipment or neither to execute it properly. So pretty much all these 3, Mooncitadel, Surmaus, Hiidenlintu, they're all suffering from the same disease, having this kind of a retro 90s sound. And I don't know whether it's not intentional, but it kind of like lacks something. It lacks the punch. It's like a slap on your wrist or face, and you're like, okay, that's very raw and scary. And you're like, dude, you're not scaring anybody. But anyway, these all are rather interesting, except for the Eternal Suffering one, which is just kind of pathetic. But if you want that fast-paced black metal with kind of a more modern production, Nether is your cup of tea. If you don't mind the kind of a potential demo-level stuff, Surmaus or Hiidenlintu, or if you want that more epic kind of a Moonblood worship, Mooncitadel is the way to go. Now, About that name, Mooncitadel, that would assume that in a moon there is a citadel. Or it's a citadel shaped of a moon. I don't know, but sounds kind of a goofy. Sounds very, very Tolkien or Game of Thrones. Maybe you need to figure out what the hell Mooncitadel is all about. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and should you have comments about format known as Indy 5 or have suggestions how to improve this format, let me know. And also show your love by giving it a thumb up and subscribing to the channel. And if you feel like super fan, click that notification button so you will get notified whenever a new video comes up. Meanwhile, go to listen some good shit, check out some of these bands, you will find the links in the description box. That's all you need to know. Go enjoy, and that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.